Corey, it's here. It's the NBA Finals. And frankly, I didn't even think we'd get here at points, right? Like during this whole thing, during the bubble, I'm like, I don't know, at some point. But here we are, the start of the NBA Finals. And one thing does feel familiar, Corey. LeBron James is there.
Yeah, it's like he's there every year from now. I don't understand. It's like, what would a finals be without LeBron? It's almost like, you know, like that friend at a party who kind of makes the life of the party. You know, it's just not a party without LeBron. It's just not a finals without him.
No, and it's not ratings without him. So ABC's probably happy with this too. But this is another addition to his legacy. That the third team he has brought to the finals, the 10th time he's been there. I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah, and you know, Kurt, when I looked at the list, you know, obviously he's been to 10 finals, which to me is, I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I can't imagine that, particularly in the modern era, because you look at the other top 4, it's Kareem, right? That's 4. Then Sam Jones is second, who played with Bill Russell, who was number 1. Yeah. And when you look at those Celtics-Lakers rivalries, I mean, Jerry West and Bill Russell basically traded like championships for 12 years. Like only 2 teams won for 12 years. You know, and you look at the modern era and to think that LeBron James has been able to go every year to the finals on 3 different teams, you know, Cleveland twice, I guess, with different pieces and still get some rings. Like that in itself is incredible.
It is. And he took some teams. This is something Bill Russell really didn't do and Jordan didn't really do. He took some teams that had no business being in the finals all the way to the finals. Some of those Cleveland teams really didn't, at the start and at the end, really didn't belong. And he was able to will them, and frankly, help will 2016 to a championship. It says a lot about him. And it says about a lot about this Laker team and LeBron too. I think what's interesting here is we've got the 2 mentally toughest teams to me left. They are the teams that survived the bubble. The bubble wore down teams, Corey. I mean, the Bucks. Yeah, there was the Clippers, right? Like it just seemed to wear teams down, and the Heat just got stronger.
Yeah, I mean, look at the way that the Heat came in. Remember when Jimmy Butler said, this is a business trip. I'm not bringing family. This is like, I came here to win. Like that set the tone right there. And then I listened to a great podcast. It was Woj and Goran Dragic. And Dragic said, like, we don't hang out with other teams. This is about us. Like, we only play cards together. We're not like trying to fraternize with anybody. We're not here to hang out or drink wine. Like, we're here to play basketball and win a championship. That's the only reason we got on the plane. And when you have that type of mentality and that type of chemistry, I mean, we've seen the result. No one even expected them to go this far. And the way they've done it has been just masterful to knock off the Bucks, to knock off the Celtics, who, I mean, both teams were more talented as far as like a 1-to-1 than the Heat, but it didn't matter. And that's where hardened chemistry and, you know, execution just trump talent every time. And
this team evolved. This is not the team that played those first 65 or whatever it ended up being games. I mean, Myers Leonard started at center. Kendrick Nunn started at point guard. Yeah. They changed as the playoffs went on. Bam has taken over. Bam Adebayo has been unbelievable. Maybe the Heat's best player in the bubble, frankly, with all due respect to how good Jimmy's played. And then Goran Dragic, you mentioned, found his legs again. He looks like all-star Goran Dragic, all-NBA Goran Dragic from 6 years ago, getting into the paint and making plays. And that just changes the dynamic with this team. They become so much harder to guard with his dribble penetration. And that's part of what got them there. This team didn't look at this as an extension of the new season. I mean, Tyler Hero looks like a rookie who came back his second season. And hey, in the offseason, I worked on
same with Luka. You know, Luka Doncic did the same thing. He looked at the same type of leap. But yeah, this team, the thing that I think is so interesting, especially with like Goran Dragic, for instance, right? Like there's a concept in sports where, you know, you need like touches, right? Like if you don't have 20 field goal attempts, then you can never really average 28, 29, 30 points a game. You just need touches. You need shots. And I think when it comes to a guy like Dragic or a guy like Hero, giving them more touches, giving them more confidence, letting them build it up, and then just say, this is your spot. Like, you know, you have the opportunity to make mistakes, to lead the team, to go like Hero, to just pull up in a transition 3. Just let it go like Steph Curry or something. You have that ability. We are not going to bench you if you miss it. That is huge, because then the guys know, look, not only does my coaching staff believe in me, not only does the owner and the GM believe in me, but most importantly, my guys believe in me, and Jimmy will still pass me the ball. even if I miss 2, 3, 4 shots, because they know that, hey, they know what I can do in practice. They've seen it every day. And that's like the element that we cannot overstate with the Miami Heat. Like Jimmy and those guys said, Bam's been the heart of this team all year. You know, like we've seen Tyler Hero grow up all year. And he's improved every single day, but you guys haven't seen it because you're not in practice. So that is the key with this team that makes them so deadly.
Well, I think what's interesting about this matchup in some ways is, look, the two best players in this series are LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But the next, how many between, like, is it the next 6 players, next 7 players, or maybe Heat players before you get to, I don't know, whoever you're going to put third on the Lakers, Danny Green or Kyle Kuzma, or whoever you're going to make their third best player. There is a little bit of a gap there. It's close, and you can debate some of these things, but Miami is such an ensemble that plays together and does whatever it takes to win. There is a selflessness about them, and you can see it. Look, you mentioned Kendrick Nunn's not playing. He's in it. Myers Leonard lost his starting job, barely sees the floor, and he is the best 7-foot cheerleader in America. Like, he is just out there pumped up.
Yeah, can I get that job? Is that a possible? Can I get paid that kind of money? Yeah. No, but yeah, the team atmosphere is so incredible, and like you said, they can score deep. I mean, there was one point in the playoffs in that Celtics series where you had like 5 guys on the Heat in double figures scoring wise. So they share the ball, they play great basketball. But the thing that I'm curious about with the Los Angeles Lakers is that closeout game, Game 5, right, where LeBron just went off on that 38-point triple-double. You look at that first half. That was a close first half, even though the Lakers dominated. And that's the problem to me. That showed like a little bit of a glaring weakness to the Lakers. I'm like, look, AD is putting up his numbers. LeBron can get whatever he wants at will. Rondo's playing great defense. Caruso's playing great in transition. You have KCP hitting shots. Everyone's doing their job. And they're only up by like 8 points, 10 points going into half against a team with Jokic didn't even play the first half because he had foul trouble, and Murray had 5 points. So that makes me question how strong that Lakers team actually is. And back to your earlier point, I mean, you have 2 of the best players in the world. Can they will this team to victory? But if the Heat execute, I mean, I think we're going to have a series.
I think we are too. I think look, I'm based out in LA, and Laker exceptionalism has run rampant in the run-up to the finals. Like most Laker fans seem convinced they're going to win this in 3 games and be done with it. And they're in for a shock because this Heat team really can play, really believes in itself, and really causes some problems, I think, just matchup-wise for the Lakers because they can shoot the 3 so well, because of their dribble handoff. And they have in Bam Adebayo the one guy who can probably match up with Anthony Davis one-on-one and play that style. I mean, that to me is the most fascinating matchup. They're not going to be on each other all the time. In fact, they may not start that way. Jay Crowder is going to get time on Anthony Davis because you can't afford Bam getting in foul trouble. Push comes to shove at the end of the game, Bam Adebayo is going to be on Anthony Davis, and that's going to be telling.
Yeah, I mean, look, once again, I'm not a betting man, but if I was a betting man, I'm betting on Anthony Davis just because, I mean, the guy is one of the best scorers in the game. And I feel like someone told me once, like a great player, you're not going to stop him. You only slow him down. So maybe instead of 30 points a game, he gets 22, 25, So for me, the question is, can you stop all the supporting players? That's the number one thing. Can you slow down Caruso? Because when he gets going, like, he brings so much energy to that team. Dwight Howard's going to try to do what he did last series and come up as a big physical guy, punch him in the face. Can you slow him down? And like I said, Rondo and KCP are the 2 most important guys to me personally. Rondo has been playing great basketball recently, and I don't think he's been getting enough credit. So can you slow him down? But yeah, Bam AD is going to be a great matchup, but AD is going to walk away averaging 25 plus this series, even despite the all-NBA defensive effort by Bam. Yeah,
look, Anthony Davis is going to score more points in this series than any other single player. I would bet on it. That said, what I like about the Heat is, what they are? You watch boxing or MMA, there are certain fighters that are awkward to fight against, and you don't look smooth and you don't look good. You're like watching it thinking, well, this guy's going to win, but it's ugly. It's hard to fight against the southpaw, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
That's Miami. Miami is, because of the zone and they throw it at you more, because of that, some of the dribble handoff, because of their shooting and the ability to penetrate and kick, they are unconventional and difficult to play against. And it might take a game or 2 for the Lakers to kind of find their footing and for LeBron to start figuring out the puzzle against this team. I think that's a challenge. I think a lot of teams have looked kind of weird at first against Miami because it's not like playing other teams.
Yeah, I mean they're a bit of like a hydra in the sense of like what you cut off one head and two more grow.
Yeah.
You know, who do you key on? Like you go into the Lakers, you know, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. That's how they're going to play. They're going to go through LeBron. He's going to penetrate and then open up shots for everybody else, or they're going to isolate Anthony Davis and he's going to kick out to the open shooter. Like you know their game plan.
Yeah.
But the Heat, you only know generally, penetrate and kick, hit open shots. But who? Jay Crowder could hit you with 3-4 threes. Duncan Robinson, he could hit you with threes. Tyler Hero can hit you with threes. You stop Jimmy Buckets, well, you got Goran Dragic to worry about. You know, there's always more. Yeah. They just like are so deep and they just keep reloading. So it's almost like, how do you game plan for everybody on the team? You know?
Yeah. And they trust each other, which is just
and they trust each other. It's just next person up. Like, okay, maybe it's not my shot. Let's pass it. Let's go one more pass. Because it's the most important thing. Like I said, it's just beautiful basketball. It's, can we execute the offense? Can we win the game? Like that's all they care about. No one's worried about stats. Yeah. This isn't like, you know, like a fantasy football game or something. Like they just want to win.
They're like vintage Spurs like that, where they'll give up the good shot for the great shot every time, and it's the right basketball play. The one other key to this series, if you're the Heat, and frankly, if you're the Lakers in transition. If they're so good, they run on makes, and LeBron's got those baseball passes, you know, football passes, baseball, whatever you want to call. If the Lakers are getting those easy transition buckets, if they get 12, 15 easy transition points a game, it's over. You can't make up that. The Heat can't turn the ball over, and they got to get back.
Yeah, and it's funny because I love outlet passes. It's the weird thing to geek out about, but LeBron James is one of the best outlet passers in the game. I'm thinking easily one of the best. I would also put Tim Duncan as one of the greatest outlet passers of all time. But the transition game is deadly. I'm curious to see the Heat on the offensive boards. You know, so I think if you get second chance points, you cannot let that team get second chance points. And we saw like with the Celtics battle, the Heat were just like relentless. So that I wonder how they're going to match up there.
And I think that's going to be on both ends. The Lakers are statistically the best offensive rebounding team in the league. And when the Heat play that zone, they keep their, Bannon's in the middle, but they got their smalls back, their bigs up. That's going to be a really interesting watch. This is going to be a fascinating series, Corey. I'll tell you, I'll say it here because I've written it. I know you're not into predictions. I have the Lakers in 6 because I think LeBron figures it out. But I'm not putting money on this. Like, I think that the Heat have a legitimate shot at this thing. So we'll see. One thing that's not going to happen, Doc Rivers is not going to be coaching the Clippers next year. That caught everyone off guard. Do you think it was a smart move? I mean, it was kind of a gamble. Do you like it?
No.
Why not? Okay. But I'm kind of with you, but what do you see there?
Look, I know he's been there for 7 years. I understand coaching. You basically aren't in a place for more than 4 years anyways, unless your name is Coach Popovich or Bill Belichick. Yeah, exactly. So I understand the game. But what Doc Rivers has managed to do from Lob City to now, I mean, make the Clippers into a respectable program. Think about the Clippers 10 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago. Like the Clippers were never respectable. Yeah. They were never in the title conversation. So I think what he's managed to do is phenomenal. And then they had all the pieces this year, and it was like the first year coming together. So to expect, a championship on year 1, I think is just incredibly ambitious. And now what are you going to do? You have year 2. You're going to be in the same position with a new coach. A new coach is going to come in and try to establish rapport with all these guys who are in their second year, just starting to gel. And then you're expecting them to then now win a championship. Why not give Doc another shot? He got you to the Western Conference Finals and had a 3-1 lead. They were this close, like 1 or 2 adjustments, and they were in the finals. So that's my thought.
Here's my question. If you're going to fire your coach, you better have something better lined up, especially if you're firing, like you said, this is a team that should be contending, certainly is as talented as anybody in the league. Who are you getting that's better? I mean, Ty Lue was on the bench and he's there, and and nothing against Tyronn Lue, who I think is a great coach. Is this some sort of dramatic step up? Like, what are you doing? Unless you're going to bring in D'Antoni and try to run with these guys or something. I'm not sure how this makes them better other than changing the voice. And maybe that's what they needed. Let's be honest. This doesn't happen if Kawhi Leonard and Paul George don't kind of at least nod, right? Like if they said no, Doc Rivers would still be the coach, but they've got to figure out something to make the chemistry on that team right. They've got to find a way to get them playing. Corey, it was pretty obvious they weren't pulling the rope in the same direction at the end, and the chemistry caught up with them.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I meant to say not Western Conference Finals, but going into the Western Conference. the second round of the playoffs. But yeah, I think there's something that we don't see, you know, on the outside. There has to be something internally that's happening where it's just kind of, what is the vibe? What is the feeling inside that locker room? We don't know. But yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense on paper to me. I don't understand it. Like you said, who's better? Who can just come in and make that kind of transition right away? I don't know. I know Ty Lue has worked with superstars, obviously, in the past and had success. So maybe that's a good move. But like when I think about like coaching styles, I kind of think about like, you know, guys who are just like Tex Winters, just great tacticians, just brilliant tacticians. And then I think about like psychologists, almost like a Phil Jackson, where you're really good at managing egos and you're really good at bringing the most out of people. And I think obviously the Clippers need that type of Phil Jackson mentality where you have a lot of guys, a lot of different personalities, very big personalities, and you just got to be able to manage them. And if the organization doesn't think Doc Rivers can do that, then that's one thing. But I didn't understand the decision.
Yeah, I think this was a frustrated Steve Ballmer decision, but I'm not sure that the next step is better. And I'm with you, by the way. They need a leader of men more than a tactician, because the style of play with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George is kind of set. You're going to be this heavy isolation team. You kind of know what they're going to be. You can tweak it a little, but their strengths are their strengths. You're going to need somebody who can, like I said, get through to these guys and lead them. And maybe that guy is out there, and maybe it's, you know, we'll see. But honestly, I'm with you. Just another year of this team together might have been enough, whether Doc was coaching them or not.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we had 1 year, you know, in my thought, I'm like,
one weird year.
Yeah, 1 weird year with the bubble, and I'm like, okay, you give him one more shot to kind of bust through. I understand, but like I said, there's a lot of things that I'm not privy to. Who knows what's happening? But it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they take a step forward, but when they do, we'll talk about it.
And I look forward to it.